Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that every hour before 8 a.m. could define the trajectory of your entire day. While most people scroll endlessly through notifications, hit snooze repeatedly, or pour themselves a lukewarm cup of coffee, the most successful people in the world are quietly shaping their future. They've mastered the hours when the world is still asleep, when distraction hasn't yet taken hold, and they use that sacred time to set themselves apart. And today, you're about to discover exactly what they do before 8 a.m. That you don single quotes T. The first thing successful people understand is that mornings are not just a time on the clock, they are a mindset. Contrast this with the average person who drags themselves out of bed already defeated, thinking about everything they didn't do yesterday, or worse, everything they have to do later. Successful people, however, begin with presence. Before they even touch their phone, they create a moment of stillness. This might be meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in silence with a cup of water, feeling the world wake up around them. One breath at a time, they remind themselves, today is yours to shape. While you're reacting to chaos, they are designing clarity. Next, they move. Not in a frantic rush, but with deliberate, calculated action. Exercise isn't just about fitness, it's about priming the mind for discipline and energy. Contrast the person who waits until evening, exhausted, hoping motivation magically strikes, with the early riser who dedicates 30 minutes to movement before breakfast. Their mind wakes along with their body. The blood flows, the senses sharpen, and the first victories of the day are quietly won. You might think, I can't find the time. Yet this isn't about time, it's about prioritization. The successful know that the most valuable hours are before distraction hits, before decisions are hijacked by fatigue or stress. Hydration and nutrition follow, but again, purposefully. Most people grab sugar-laden cereals, endless cups of coffee, or skip breakfast entirely. Successful people fuel themselves deliberately. They drink water to awaken the organs, absorb nutrients to energize the body, and take a moment to consider what they are putting into themselves. Every sip, every bite is intentional. Contrast this with the rushed, reactive habits of the average person, whose morning fuel is more like a reflex than a choice. By the time the world demands attention, the successful are already ahead. They've prepared their vessel for the day's challenges. Then comes the mind work. The early hours are for clarity, not chaos. While most people open social media, absorbing the anxiety, envy, and distraction of the world, successful people review their goals. They don't simply glance at a to-do list, they visualize outcomes, rehearse challenges, and prioritize actions that align with their long-term vision. Contrast the two realities. The reactive individual is pulled by notifications, reacting to what others deem urgent, while the proactive person is pulled by purpose, designing each step to build momentum. This mental rehearsal sharpens focus, primes creativity, and gives them an advantage that no one else can touch, because it exists in the invisible hours. Before 8 a.m. Reading is another critical habit. While the average person consumes mindless content or endless streams of entertainment, successful individuals feed their minds deliberately. They read for growth, learning, or inspiration. Contrast the empty scrolling habit with a 15-minute session of reading a book that teaches strategy, psychology, or a skill they're building. Knowledge compounds like interest in a bank account. One morning session might seem small, but compounded over weeks and months, it creates expertise that the average person could only dream of. This is why leaders, innovators, and creators all start their day before the rest of the world wakes. Journaling is the silent engine behind many of these routines. Before distraction or stress can interfere, the successful write. They map out their intentions, record gratitude, and externalize thoughts that might otherwise consume mental energy. Contrast this with those who let their mind wander, reacting emotionally to emails or messages first thing. Writing before 8 a.m. allows them to process internally, leaving the day's chaos to arrive without derailing their clarity. This simple practice creates mental bandwidth, resilience, and foresight advantages invisible to anyone watching, but life-changing for the practitioner. But perhaps the most crucial element is intention. Successful people don't just wake up early, they wake up with purpose. They understand that habits compound and small, consistent advantages create exponential results. Contrast the person hitting snooze repeatedly with the early riser who consciously decides the tone, energy, and focus of the day. They set intentions for every interaction, every task, and even every emotion. Before the world is awake, they have already aligned their mind, body, and environment for success. By 8 a.m., they've already won hours others squander. Let's talk about contrast in environments. While most people start their day surrounded by chaos, messy bedrooms, notifications, unfinished tasks, successful people engineer their surroundings. They make their beds, organize their spaces, and reduce friction for disciplined action. This small, often overlooked habit creates momentum. Contrast a cluttered space with a clean, intentional environment. The mind cannot be fully present when the senses are overwhelmed. By controlling their immediate environment, successful people control their energy and attention before they even face the outside world. Another secret often missed is reflection on personal growth. Successful people spend time reviewing their personal development, not just their professional tasks. Before 8 a.m., they might ask, am I becoming the person I want to be? Am I aligned with my values? Contrast this with individuals who rush from one obligation to the next, never pausing to examine their growth. By integrating reflection into morning routines, successful people ensure that their actions are aligned with their long-term vision, not just reactive to immediate pressures. And here's where the magic compounds. Discipline. All these routines, presence, movement, nourishment, mental work, reading, journaling, reflection create self-discipline. Contrast the reactive person, whose day is controlled by outside forces, with the early riser, whose internal rhythm drives results. This discipline is invisible to most, but it shows in performance, resilience, and decision-making throughout the day. The first hours set the tone. The rest of the day is simply following the trajectory established in these early, intentional moments. Finally, successful people protect their early hours like a fortress. They guard them from unnecessary emails, calls, and distractions. Contrast the average worker, bombarded from the moment their eyes open, with the high achiever, who has carved sacred time for thought, strategy, and action. By the time the world demands attention, they've already completed the most important, impactful work. They operate from a position of advantage, calm, and readiness. Now, consider this. What if you applied just a fraction of these strategies tomorrow? What if, instead of hitting snooze or scrolling aimlessly, you spent 1 hour cultivating presence, moving your body, fueling your mind, reading, writing, and reflecting with purpose? 1 hour before 8 a.m. could completely alter your day, your focus, and your outcomes. Contrast that with continuing to surrender the morning to distraction. Small shifts, compounded daily, create massive results. The people you admire, the ones achieving extraordinary success, they are not smarter or luckier than you. They've mastered the invisible hours before the rest of the world wakes. The question is, are you ready? Ready to reclaim your mornings, your focus, and your life? Because every hour before 8 a.m. is a choice. A choice between reaction and intention, between mediocrity and mastery, between living passively or designing actively. Start tomorrow. Begin with presence. Move with purpose. Eat, hydrate, read, write, reflect, and protect your time. This is what separates ordinary from extraordinary, the reactive from the proactive, the distracted from the unstoppable. And here's the final truth. It's not about waking up early alone. It's about what you do with the hours you gain. Presence, energy, focus, reflection, and discipline are invisible habits that compound quietly, invisibly, until one day you look back and realize your life has shifted. By 8 a.m., you're not just awake, you're ahead. You're designing your day instead of being designed by it. You're living intentionally, building momentum, and setting yourself apart. So tomorrow, when the alarm rings, remember this. The world is still asleep. Your future doesn't wait. Your morning doesn't wait. Be present. Move with purpose. Take action before the chaos arrives. Do what the most successful people do before 8 a.m. and watch how everything changes. Subscribe, join this journey, and begin reclaiming your mornings. Train yourself in these invisible hours. Protect them, own them, and step into the life that successful people have been quietly building all along. Because it's not magic. It's habit. It's presence. It's what you choose to do while the world sleeps.